Is the bull run over? Are we going to slowly creep down into the dreaded crypto winter? Well, every single metric says we are. So if you want to follow the metric, the data, oh yeah, and every little historical precedent / echo says we are. So if you want to follow that, well, I guess, yeah, you follow the historical echoes and the data, everything is pointing that the cycle is over. The only thing that is telling us it's not over is our own will to not see it end. Because it's not what we bargained for. I think we're all sitting here with like, this isn't a bull run. And, you know, adjusted for inflation, I would maybe say it's not a bull run. Now, if you got in at 15.5 and saw your investment go up to 126, I think you would be pretty happy with that return. Unfortunately, that's not how the market works. What usually happens is that price gets to about 50K, and once the price appreciates, people are like, hey, maybe I should buy it. It's going up, because people don't like to buy anything at a low value. They want it to be, they want the social value of everyone thinking it's worth something, then they get in. That's 50K, and I would argue that the 50K buyers were early. Then you get another small percentage around 80 or 90. Because there was extreme FOMO at 80 and 90, if you want to call it. I wouldn't say extreme, actually, but there was a little bit of FOMO there, I remember, because we're getting close to 100K. And then, of course, the vast majority of people get in at the top, 126. But those 126Kers, they're the next generation of hodlers, because this is what happens. They buy at the top. They enter a denial phase. I couldn't have bought at the top. I'm not that stupid. They are. They're just, it's not that they're stupid. They're just ill-informed of the cycle, right? They got in on the hype. It went up so much. They're like, oh, I got to buy something. It's going up. But now they spend the next 2 to 3 years asking questions about their investment, and they inadvertently become orange-pilled, because the more questions you have, the more answers are out there. And they realize, holy shit. Did I buy at the top? Yeah. Did I FOMO in at the top? Yes. But this thing does this. Higher highs, higher lows. And they'll start telling themselves, which is true, there's going to come a time where people are going to call my buy at 126K lucky. Right? Even though this person will draw it down to, I think it's going to 40K just to I go with max pain. A lot of people like to sugarcoat how low we'll go. And I don't think 40K is the lowest. I think we throw a little wick underneath and then it pops up and we close the candle at 40K around November of 2026. At the same time, if you got on 15.5 and it's up at 40, yeah, it's not 126, but you're still, you know, in the green for probably the rest of your life. But those people are the ones that become the next generation of hodlers, because they did the education through pain. They learned the hard way, which every true hodler does. Everyone kind of learns the hard way. I learned the hard way. But that galvanized my resolve when I re-entered the market. I had more education. I knew what I was doing. I wasn't part of the FOMO crowd. I was part of the, you know, orange pill, this is a revolution crowd. Can't shake those out. Now, unfortunately, this bull run, because the price didn't appreciate enough to get real retail in. I mean, retail that can't afford to invest. They sell their karate suit and their trombone on Kijiji and they put the money into Bitcoin. They don't even have money to invest. That's the retail we need in here, because that galvanizes into the next generation of hodlers. Unfortunately, this ribeye's done to a T. Unfortunately, the retail we did get, and make no mistake, we got retail. However, they were the worst retail. They were boomer retail. These are people, remember I was talking about the new talking heads on CNBS? They're the people that watched it. And because they've been watching since Amazon took off, they're like, oh, well, maybe I'll get this. And then they got a call from their financial advisor, that crook, and said, you know, you should probably get a, let's just call it a 2% schmuck insurance on this Bitcoin. You know, you might, you know, you don't want it to get away from you. It's already gone up 3x. Okay, that sounds good. They get in. Sriracha here. Makes the world go around. And then it has a 35% pullback, and they're like, oh, their diapers get filled, and they're like, oh my God, what did I agree to? 35%. They've been riding the Goldilocks of investment for humans in history. Buy a house at 40K, 30 years later, it's worth $1 million. Everything they've touched has basically gone up if they've stayed in there long enough. 35% pullback. Get me the F out of here, and I might consider just firing your ass, right? So that's why we see this. People say there's no retail. That for some reason BlackRock is an entity onto itself. It's BlackRock buying Bitcoin. No. BlackRock, yeah, they educate their boomer clientele. But then they actually buy. They're purchasing Bitcoin for their clients. Now, do they have a private bag that off the books? Of course. And I would hazard to guess that they're not selling that one. They're just selling what the clients want. Buying what the clients want, selling what the clients want. So unfortunately, we have a retail boomer crowd that is about as fickle as it gets, because they don't care about their kids or their grandkids, right? And they're going to sell off, and that will take us to that bear market of 40K. Now, the one thing that will change my mind is a all-time high in 2026. Now, if we were to rally from here, I think we're at 87K, and put in a new all-time high in 2025, nothing's different. We just put in an all-time high in Q4 like we always do. The only thing that'll be different is if in 2026 we get an all-time high. Then, of course, the cycle is broken. And at that point, I don't know how much of a cycle we'll ever have. So if you think about it, most of these cycle factors were self-fulfilling prophecies from the older generation of those in the know to the new generation of, you know, those that don't know. They become the exit liquidity for the old generation. So now that that's over, and we have all these massive companies buying 2 or 3 years of the supply, it's an irrelevant, it's a moot point to have it. Because in reality, outside of the exchanges and the OTC desks, which if you haven't seen the video of banning the OTC desks, I think we should ban the OTC desk. Never happened, but it's my opinion. That supply shock, you know, is not a factor, because we've already bought 2 or 3 years, I don't know, maybe even 5 years of the supply. There's not enough, technically, to go around. There'll always be enough on the OTC desks. But if you've been here long enough, you just understand that these ebbs and flows come and go. And who cares? There's one thing that Bitcoin teaches you, a low time horizon. When I say low time horizon, I mean long, right? And if you can adopt a low time horizon in your investment thesis, it spills down to the rest of your life. You realize everything is a journey. Everything takes time. And anything that is that important or valuable, you have to have dedication to it. Without that dedication, you lose. And that's what you get when you get galvanized from a bull run top to a bear market bottom.